Right. Jai Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Trimandasya Jnana Gana Salakaya Chaksusumritayena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Mano Vishna Stapita Yena Bhutale Swaya Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Sampadanchikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Tam Padakamala Sri Guru Vaishnava Sri Rupa Sakajatan Sahagana Raghunatha Chavitan Sajivan Sadvaitan Savadutan Parijanan Saitan Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Parasahagana Adita Sri Vishaka Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tata Kanchana Gorange Radha Vrindavanisvare Vishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchaka Patrubhyascha Kripa Srinivya Bhakta Patitana Pavana Vebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Ya Krishna Chaitanya Amene Goratise Nama Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ananda Lila Maya Vigraya Vimabhada Vichavi Sundaraya Tasma Mahaprema Sapadaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namana Mastate Chaitanya Chandaya Namana Mastate Chaitanya Chandaya Namana Mastate. So I thank everyone for tuning in this evening for our online Zoom Bhagavad Gita class. So I guess this method, we can reach wide audience to be able to speak online. And today, of course, also a very special day. Today is Bhadra Punim, being the day that Sukadeva Goswami completed the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam before Parikshit Maharaj. Because Sukadeva Goswami had been speaking Bhagavatam for the past 7 days. I didn't start from Radhastami Day, and then it ends today. This is just, so Sukadeva Goswami finished speaking, and then Parikshit Maharaj, he departed, he left his body. And also today, it's also called a Ishwara Prabhu, because this is the day that Mahaprabhu, when he was traveling in Maharashtra, Pandharpur, this is the day he found in Pandharpur where his brother, where he departed from this world. And also another special day today is the day that Śrīla Prabhupada took sannyas. So Prabhupada in 1959, he took sannyas on Vishwaru Mahotsav. So many auspicious days is today. So of course, we are speaking from Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Krishna is enlightening Arjuna about this transcendental message of Bhagavad Gita. So, for which is on the transcendental knowledge, and Lord Krishna, he has been describing different types of jagas, sacrifice, different persons according to their particular eligibility and according to their particular inclination. So they are performing the different type of sacrifices for different purposes. So I'm reading from, start from text number 32. Evaṁ bahu-vidhā yaga vitatā brahmaṇo mukhe karma-jān viditans sarvaṁ evaṁ jñātvā vimokṣyase. So the translation: all these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. So the purport by Ishwara Prabhu. Different types of sacrifice, as discussed above, are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of worker. Because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concepts, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with the intelligence. But all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herewith from his own mouth. So evaṁ bahu-vidhā jaga vitatā brahmaṇo mukhe karma-jān viditam sarvaṁ evaṁ jñātvā vimokṣyase. So the Lord, for the past 8 or 9 verses, the Lord has been describing different type of jaga. Jaga means sacrifices. Actually, every endeavor in life, in order to have any particular kind of success, so sacrifice must be there. Without sacrifice, one cannot attain anything. So the Lord is saying here that there are different type of sacrifices. Actually, 12 of them are listed from text number 24 all the way to the last text. So, but of course, this, as mentioned in this verse here, vitatā brahmaṇo mukhe, that even though these sacrifices are performed by different types of workers, but they all have their origin. Their origin is said to be spiritual because it's coming from the Vedas. They are authorized by the Vedic scriptures. Unless something is authorized by the Vedic scriptures, then it simply is speculation. So when the Lord is talking of different type of sacrifices here, the Lord is talking about what is authorized from the Vedas. And of course, as they say, evaṁ paran-tapa, that yes, the Vedic must be authorized from the explicit section of guru to disciple, like that. It must be authorized section. Then it's said to be coming from the Vedas. And of course, as they say, the Vedas is coming from the mouth of the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. So the Lord said, he said, Brahma Panam Brahmavi, Brahmana Gno Brahmana Yiton, Brahmayeva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. So the Lord is saying that yes, this different sacrifices, they all have their origin in the scriptures. So essentially, the Lord said they are spiritual, essentially. So because there are many elements are there when one's performing different types of sacrifice. You have the sacrificial spoon, there's a sacrificial laddu, so many paraphernalias are there. The butter is there, the fire by which one have to engage the priest who will perform, all these different sacrifices. And of course, the act of offering itself. And then when all these sacrifices are performed, the particular reward that one gains from that, the particular result that is there. This is said to be spiritual. This is what we call the last call it Brahma Karma Samadhi. It's a Brahma Pranam Brahma. So only when there is the concept of Brahman is indicating spiritual. So that's the authorization. And of course, now what is the end result of the different type of sacrifices? So like in the text number 24, so the Lord is saying that by performance of different type of sacrifice, because the attention is okay. Hare Krishna. There was some glitch there. Okay, so by performing of different sacrifices, because the goal is for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. So therefore, one gain liberation by such performance. Now, it's mentioned here that because there are different types of workers, and each worker has got a certain eligibility in terms of when the sacrifice are being performed. And this sacrifice is said to be done with the mind, with the body, or with the speech. Just in the previous verses, we heard about the sacrifice of control speech, the mind, the body, and all that. So the different eligibility is there. That is there. So now, when the sacrifice, when they are performed by the body, by the mind, or the speech, so which means these sacrifices are done in a way by which the body, the mind, and speech, they are brought under control. And when they are under control, then ultimately they can be focused onto the Supreme Lord. They can be focused on the Lord, because there is no meaning to any particular sacrifice if the goal is not aiming to satisfy the Lord. For instance, in the Bhagavatam, it says, when you're talking of sacrifice, in the Bhagavatam, this is in the first canto, it mentioned that Vasudeva para-vidhā, Vasudeva para-mukhe, Vasudeva para-yoga, Vasudeva para-kriya, Vasudeva param-jñānam, Vasudeva paran-tapa, Vasudeva parodhamo, Vasudeva paragati. So I mentioned that in the scriptures, that the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the purpose of performing sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. His supreme knowledge and all severe austerities are performed to know him. And religion dharma is rendering loving service unto him. So is the goal of life. Is the goal of life, the supreme goal of life, Vasudeva Parangati. So it's not that one is performing sacrifice just for the sake of enhancing one's spiritual existence. Just like there are many persons who perform different types of sacrifices just to please certain demigods. To please demigods, they engage in so many austerities, performance of different jagas to please demigod. But the demigods, what did they do? Their reward, they give a particular reward, but the reward that they give, it's only temporary. And as mentioned in the chapter 8 of the Gita, the Lord even said that even though one may be worshiping the demigods, performing so many sacrifices to please them, but still even the demigods, they cannot give the reward of one's performance unless they get permission from the Lord himself. Even the demigods, they're not even independent in giving the award giving the reward to the performer of the sacrifice, to their worshipper. They have to get the permission from the Lord himself. Because why? Because the demigods, they are not independent. They are working on behalf of the Lord. They are simply different agents who represent different aspects of the universe. And the ultimate controller is the Supreme Lord himself. So the demigods, they are not independent. So the worshipper, they are the ones who are ignorant. They think that the demigods, they're independent. Just like we have so many stories and all that. And sometimes when the performance of the sacrifice, when they worship demigods, and sometimes demigods, they may not even be pleased by the performance of the sacrifice. They may not even be pleased because as one begins to worship a certain demigod, another demigod, his authority may be infringed upon his authorities. And then because his authority may be infringed upon, and then they start creating problems for the performer of the particular sacrifice. So which means there's all kind of obstacles there, but one is performing different type of sacrifice for the sake of materialistic desires, for the sake of the materialistic results, when the aim is not to please the Supreme Lord. But the Lord said that the aim of all sacrifice is to please me only. That should be the goal, is to please him. So he mentioned that in the Gita chapter 3, text 9, the Lord says, jñāna karma-jān lokonyam kama bandhana tadātam kama kunteya mukta sangha samachara. So here the Lord is saying that if work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu, if a work is done for the sacrifice, that such a work must be performed for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So the Lord said that all kind of sacrifice must be done for the satisfaction of him. Otherwise, such work causes bondage in this material world. So therefore, the Lord is telling Arjuna that therefore, you should perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. In this case, for the satisfaction of Krishna. You perform your duty. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. So everything that we will do that is not aiming to please the Lord, it binds up the material world. It's a repetition of birth and death, one life after the other. Even though, yes, we may go to the heavenly planet, especially by worshiping Indra, one goes to the heavenly planets. Or even one may even go to the sun planet by worshiping Surya Dev. But what is the situation of all the different planets? The Lord said, he said, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka, Puna Avatino Arjuna. He said, it doesn't matter where you go in this material world. You go, then you have to come down, again. Because why? Because they are temporary. Because anything with the material world is a temporary situation. So therefore, why should one wasting one's time in engaging oneself in different types of sacrifices when the aim is not to please the Supreme Lord? Now, as we're going to go to the next verse, so the Lord is actually talking about those who are performing the sacrifice, and then through the performance of the sacrifice, they came to understand, they came to achieve the transcendental knowledge. And when the transcendental knowledge is achieved, so what happened? One comes to understand that yes, Vasudeva Savanati, that yes, Krishna is everything. So in the next verse, which is text number 33, so the Lord said, śreyān, dravya-mayād yajñā, jñāna-yajñāḥ paran-tapa, sarvaṁ karmākhilaṁ pṛthā, jñāne parisamāpyate. So this is text 33. So the Lord said in Arjuna, O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifices performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pṛthā, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. So the Lord said that all sacrifices culminate in transcendental knowledge. So there's a very nice, beautiful purpose by Ishwara Prabhu, very nice purpose. So Ishwara Prabhu said here, the purpose of all sacrifices is to arrive at the status of complete knowledge, then to gain release from material miseries, and ultimately to engage in loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna consciousness. Nonetheless, there is a mystery about all these different activities of sacrifice. And one should know this mystery. Sacrifices sometimes take different forms according to the particular faith of the performer. When one's faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, the performer of sacrifices should be considered more advanced than those who simply sacrifice material possessions without such knowledge. For without attainment of knowledge, sacrifices remain on the material platform and bestow no spiritual benefit. Real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. Without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifices are simply material activities. When, however, they are elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such entities enter onto the spiritual platform. Depending on differences in consciousness, sacrificial activities are sometimes called karma-kanda, fruitive activities, and sometimes jñāna-kanda, knowledge in the pursuit of truth. It is better when the end is knowledge. So this very beautiful purport, whereby the different performance of sacrifice. In this verse, it's talking about two things, śreyān and dravya-mayād. The two types of sacrifice, śreyān and dravya-mayād. So dravya-mayād means the materialistic purpose. Like for example, we know that there are many persons who use their wealth for or whatever possession they may have for the charitable activities. They use their wealth to engage in a charitable duties for the benefit of, let's say, suffering humanity. So we have many people who engages in humanitarian work. So basically, they are not using their wealth for their own particular enjoyment, simply using their wealth for the purpose of benefiting others. So this is basically called sacrificing one's material possessions. So the whole world is we are many people who are who are doing that in the whole world. Just like there are many rich persons, like some billionaires, especially in the West, like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. Many billionaires are there who have actually pledged all their wealth to charity. They said, okay, when they die, all their money is going to go to charity. They don't want to leave anything behind. So they give the major portion of their wealth for the charitable purposes, activities. But the point is that one may do that, but what is the result of that? What does one gain? What does one gain? Because the thing is that one simply continue remaining in this material world. That's the thing. Because such sacrificing of one's possession is not being engaged in the spiritual activities. Because if it's engaged in spiritual activities, then it's mentioned here that the realization of the transcendental knowledge, because it said the culmination in a transcendental knowledge. And what is transcendental knowledge is when one comes to understand the Supreme Lord as He is. Because when one understands the Supreme Lord as He is, so what does one do? One engage in devotional service of the Lord. One engage in the transcendental loving service. If one comes to understand Krishna. So śreyān, which is the ultimate goal, the ultimate sacrifice, whereby when one comes to realize the Supreme Lord. Whereas if one simply engaging in the just ordinary sacrifice of the material possessions, just for the sake of giving one's materialistic prestige, it doesn't take one anywhere. Whereas the purpose of life, the purpose of human life is to get out to the material world. The purpose of human life is to realize the Supreme Lord. As they say, Vasudevam Parangati, that the goal of life is to attain the Lord. The goal of life is to end the materialistic miseries, that is this material misery, the samsara of repetition of birth and death. That's the goal of life. And that is the aim of the Vedas. The Vedic scriptures that is instructing us in all these different types of sacrifices. The goal is how we can end our materialistic existence. How we can end our materialistic existence and actually go back to that place whereby there is no return. So go to that place whereby once reached there, one will not come back to this materialistic world, to this material world of repetition of birth and death. That's what the Vedas is teaching. So the Vedic scriptures give different types of prescriptions. Even though, yes, because of the materialistic attachment that one has. So we have the Karma-kanda section of the Vedas. The Karma-kanda section is there. Okay, that yes, you can perform these different activities, different sacrifice. You can do this, and then you may go. You go to heavenly planet, or you may go this, you may go here and there. But the goal, even though the Vedas, the Vedic scriptures, is teaching us about this materialistic and fruitive activities, that the ultimate aim of the Vedas is for the performer to come to actually rise above that, to actually rise above that the need to engage in activities so that one can go to the higher planet, or that one can become a demigod in the next life. But again, as the Lord said, again and again, one has to come down again and again and again and again. So what is the use? So when one becomes intelligent, when one come to understand that, yes, there is a place that's actually worth desiring to go. So therefore, the cultivation of transcendental knowledge is what is the real aim of the Vedic scripture. So when the transcendental knowledge is awakened, so therefore, what happens is that one come to understand the Lord, one come to understand one's real identity as a servant, as a spirit soul, eternal spirit soul, who is part and parcel of the Lord. And one come to understand that yes, the goal of life is to engage in the loving devotional service of the Lord. And this is kind of sacrifice that Chaitanya Prabhu has come to teach. Chaitanya Prabhu, he brought Sankirtan Jaga. The Sankirtan Jaga is it's actually beyond any kinds of Jaga that is there in this material world. Which the Sankirtan Jaga, which is the congregational chanting of the Lord's holy name. This is what Lord Krishna himself, in the form of Chaitanya Prabhu, he has come to establish. It is especially for this Kali Yuga. He says Yajñātihi Sumedasya. That verse. That Krishna Vahanam to Sa Krishna, Sango Apashada, said that Jagnahi Sankirtana Prayai Yajñātihi Sumedasya. Jagnahi Sankirtana Prayai. So in this age of Kali, Lord Krishna, he advented himself, not as Krishna, but it's called Krishna Vanam. To his Krishna means he didn't come in his original form as Krishna, the dark complexion. We actually appear in his body complexion. Sango Pashada, along in the association of his intimate associate, in the association of his devotees, like Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, Srivas Thakur. So the Lord came in Haridas Thakur. So the Lord came with his eternal associate. And what is he doing? What is their main activity? Jagnai Sankirtana Prayai. They introduced the Sankirtan Jaga. Sankirtan, that's what they introduced. So which means the Chaitanya Prabhu did not come to introduce a particular Jaga sacrifice, which are there in the Vedic scriptures. No, the Lord came, introduced something that is much more higher than that. which means by the engaging in the Sankirtan Jaga, the Sankirtan, which is actually the religion of the age. Through the engagement in the Sankirtan, then a person can actually develop his loving relationship with Krishna, with the Supreme Lord, and a person can go back home, back to the original home. This is what the Lord has come, and this is basically the gist of these two verses which we have been reading. That the real knowledge is culminate in Krishna consciousness. So this real knowledge, which culminates in Krishna consciousness, is said to be the highest stage of knowledge. Is the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. And of course, as Prabhupada said here, that without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifice are simply materialistic activities. But when however, they're elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such activities enter into the spiritual platform. So this is what our aim, should be. So the Lord continue to prescribe this prescription. And what is the ultimate sacrifice? What is the real end of the sacrifice? And then the last talking about the real end of sacrifice is what brings one to the transcendental knowledge. Now, how to get this knowledge? The best way to realize this knowledge. So this is what the Lord is going to tell. This is what the Lord will talk next to Arjuna. That yes, if you want to get this knowledge, then you have to approach a qualified person. So this is what the Lord is going to talk next in the next verse. So I'm going to stop here. If there is if there's any question or comments, you can please make.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Someone have some questions or comments for today's class? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Somebody, some comments.
Oh, let me Okay, if anyone has questions, you can unmute and ask. You can raise your hand. Sitaraja Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna, Ishwara Prabhu. Thank you for a nice class.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, how does sacrifice develop a transcendental knowledge? Just an act of doing something will lead to the manifestation of knowledge. Can you make that point a little bit clear?
Yeah, as the Lord has mentioned, say here in the text that we are reading, that all kind of sacrifice culminate in transcendental knowledge, because this basically has to do with the results that one gets from such sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Because by performance of different sacrifices, a certain result is achieved. Now, when there's achievement of that particular result, one has to really analyze what is the beneficial result? What is the benefit of such achievement? If you just can perform a sacrifice, just okay, you go to the higher planet, and then again you have to come down again, and then it's another, another repetition of birth and death, the samsara, this repeated cycle. So what is the value in that? So therefore, as one engage in the sacrifices, then ultimately the real knowledge we comes about. This is through the analyzing of a different result that is there when one is performing different sacrifice. And that's what the Lord said in the previous verse. The Lord says that because the Vedas, all these different sacrifices, they actually, these are approved by the Vedic scriptures. They are authorized by the Vedic scriptures, whereas the goal of the Vedic scriptures is the realization of a transcendental knowledge. And why do we perform sacrifice in the first place? Because of our attachment to the materialistic situation. So therefore, okay, we are advised, okay, in giving sacrifice, be religious and do something. And as you do that, you know, eventually, you know, the realization started coming. You know, one start getting the realization as one perform, you know, different type of sacrifice, because the goal is there, that is there. So, and of course, as mentioned by the acharyas, that once the transcendental knowledge is attained, then all these sacrifices will no longer is needed anymore. No more sacrifices is required once you gain transcendental knowledge, because you come to know who Krishna is, you come to know yourself as part and parcel of Krishna, and you come to know what's your goal of life. So therefore, sacrifices is no longer required. The sacrifice actually stop once the realization of transcendental knowledge, once that comes about, then all kind of sacrifice stop. So this has been elaborated by, of course, by Ishwara Prabhu in varieties of commentaries, and also by other acharyas also. They've also said the same thing.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you for that. Thank you for that explanation. Really appreciate it.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you. So
Any other question is coming?
May I make a comment?
sure.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. Very nice class. But in this age, it's Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalum, Kalur, Nisteva, 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 Gatyarnatha. The sacrifice that's recommended in this age is the chanting of the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And that the process is not only the process, but it's also the goal, because Krishna is non-different from his name. So he enters through our ears and comes to our hearts, and there he cleans our hearts so that we're able to become self-realized and actually to have full realization of him. So that's the only sacrifice we perform is perfect in this age.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's the only. That's why I said Sankti Yajanti is made as this was my Prabhu. This is what you come to realize. Like Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami is saying that through Nam Sankirtan, not only now we said that the Krishna, not only he said that one actually developed love of Krishna through Nam Sankirtan. So actually the achievement, it's incalculable. So therefore, so many books have been written on the goal of Nam Sankirtan, as you said. Because Krishna is not different from his name. It's the goal of life. That's the topmost achievement. I mentioned that even the demigods, they want to take birth in Kali Yuga, because the whole process of self-realization, sacrifice, it becomes so easy by simply Nam Sankirtan. Everything becomes so easy. So the demigods, they want to take birth in Kali Yuga, because it's easier to attain self-realization through Nam Sankirtan. Whereas in the previous ages, it's so difficult. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Any other comments or questions?
yeah.
All right, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you for everyone for tuning in. So it's always nice. Looking at the screen, I'm sure we have the Transcendental Association. Through this
Thank you, Prabhu. Jai.
Okay, thank you. Jai Hare Krishna. Jai Ishwara
Hare
Prabhu Ki.
Jai.